And here we are. We're live again on LinkedIn, coming to you from Palm Springs, California. It's almost 12:30 p.m. Over here, and we're having a blast. And I have with me Ken Marsh with Marmon Food Service. Ken, how are you doing, brother?
Doing great.
So I know Ken from the food equipment industry and vertical. And being part of Cefesa and the whole network there, I've seen Marmon all over, right? We work with a lot of service companies who happen to work on Marmon equipment.
Yeah.
So I know you first from the great products that you guys put out, but I also had the opportunity, and I'm blessed to be able to connect with you here for the first time in person. We've always we're connected on LinkedIn, but now we're connecting in person. And I'm excited, Ken, to dig into some of the priorities that you've come here to the conference to address, or some of the key challenges, and really go deep into that. But before we do that, can you give us a little bit of background about your role at Marmon and what you do?
Yeah. So at Marmon, I manage our third-party service network and their performance overall for our warranty performance, and then also just our warranty process overall, which inclusive of the equipment performance and our service providers and just the costs involved with that, and also looking at the opportunities of really where we can start changing it into a profit center versus a cost center there, and really understanding what we can use with analytics to better understand where our pain points are, but also where we can get some wins at the end of the day to make it a more substantial growth with the company overall as well. So
that's interesting. So what do you mean by turning it from a cost center to a profit center?
So I mean, traditionally service is it's a cost center. I mean, you're paying out, you're doing warranty costs. Yep. I mean, you're paying for the service, you're paying for the parts that are replaced there. I mean, depending on, and so I mean, there's never any money made at the warranty. I mean, it's a reserve cost that manufacturers have to do through the financial side of it each year. So I mean, as companies try and grow in different ways, we're looking at what we can do to sell planned maintenance programs, preventative maintenance programs, and really differentiating between those two, that we can tell the story of a planned maintenance versus a preventative maintenance, but then also extended warranty programs, self-help training guides, or self-help maintenance programs. I mean, like if there's a simple gasket that customers can do, and making sure that they're trained on how to do that, and really getting that out to our customers, and also
to deflect calls.
Right. Well, to deflect calls, and also to give them overall, it's giving them a better customer experience.
Enabling them.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, and that's essentially, they don't want to call for service. I mean, and no one wants to call and say, hey, my piece of equipment's broke down and I need help. I mean, because they know what that means to their business of loss of revenue, and the people aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Maybe they're having to cook something different. In a different way than they're supposed to, in that way. And so if you can keep them to where they can respond better to a service by doing it themselves, it just makes it overall better for the customer experience at the end of the day.
So. Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly enough, it's a win-win situation. It's a win for the manufacturer because you're reducing your costs and maybe turning a little bit of revenue. It's good for the end user because they're extending that shelf life, that life cycle.
For sure.
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot about asset life cycle and equipment life cycle and service life cycle at this event. And it's great for the service company because you can get the job done faster, better, and cheaper.
Right. And I mean, when you're dealing with food equipment, there's always debris. I mean, there's grease depending on the equipment. So, I mean, if you empower the customer to take care of their equipment better, it makes the service technician's life even easier because when they do finally, I mean, if they do have to go out there for a service call, they're not walking in and having to clean the machine first and then do the service. So, I mean, it makes it much better for the service technician as well.
Better experience.
If you're doing that next level of empowering your customers to do the right thing. So
absolutely. So I love it. And what are some of the biggest challenges that you're coming across right now, trying to go from a cost center to a profit center, but also enabling your customer with insights?
So it's one, you have to, if you've never measured it, you don't really know how you're performing overall. And I mean, that's one of those slogans or sayings I've picked up over the years is you can't improve unless you're measuring. And that's really, you have to start off with your benchmarks. And that's where, I mean, starting out and really making sure we understand what our performance is today. And then the other thing is don't drown yourself with the data either. Pick those 2 to 3 things that you want to focus on as a team overall. I mean, maybe you can break that out and have more if you have
granular
separate teams as you get into the granular level. But I mean, it's trying not to drown yourself at first and making sure you're trying to fix the whole ship sinking. It's just you only can patch one hole at a time. So I mean, it's not like the ship's sinking, but it's just
systematic continuous improvement. Kaizen, more of a Kaizen approach. And what are some of those service metrics that you're looking at to evaluate the performance of the service operation?
I mean, the overall key one, I mean, because as it's heard here, and our company slogan is your uptime is our priority. I mean, so it's about the customer's uptime. And really from the service side is what can you do when you do get a services incident is to close it out as fast as possible, to get that customer back up and running so they don't have that downtime longer than that's truly needed. And that's, so our biggest measurement is that downtime of a service incident, and what's driving those focus.
I love it. And how are you looking to leverage data and especially AI in enabling this maximum uptime of equipment for your customer?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't fully, I mean, or looked at, I mean, we have looked at AI softwares out there and really trying to differentiate between advanced analytics and AI.
And what's the difference for you between the two?
I mean, to me, advanced analytics is a one-time look at it. And then when you get to that AI is you don't have to have that manual input of refreshing that report. It's done automatically in the background and it's learning from itself as it refreshes. So it's not a manual reliant on someone else on your team to really go in and say, all right, hey, I need to refresh this report and then give it understanding. No, it's putting that thought process behind the data as well as that AI.
Extracting insight.
Yeah. I mean, because you can get people right out of college and they can run all these fancy reports for you, but they don't understand what they mean.
Right.
So if you don't have someone that can put context behind the data, it's not really worth it.
Context around the data, and that was a key topic. How can you put context around the data? And if you throw at me a spreadsheet, I'm just going to delete it. If you don't tell me why I'm looking at it, what does this mean? How does it relate to me? And so that's a really great distinction. Data tells you what's going on and what's already going on, right? It visualizes things that has happened, right? And it leaves it up to you to come up with the insight and triangulate this information and come up with that insight to come up with the resolution. On the other hand, AI, it creates an insight through correlation. It's not necessarily, it reads you, hey, you are, the first time fixed rate of this service provider is X. It can tell you no. The first time fixed rate of this service provider has been trending up on these kind of machines, and it has been trending down on these kind of machines, and it can give you that the insight, extrapolate insight out of the data.
Yep. Yeah, and with that, I mean, it helps pinpoint where your true issues are. It makes it easier for your team to, I mean, because ultimately we're all looking for ways to not just save time for our team, but make sure they're focused on the right things. And if you can provide their focus easier for them of what issues to go after, of what problems we're really trying to solve for, I mean, that's, to me, that's the goal of internal operations of what you're trying to do is making the process of getting information that is helpful to people easier. And that's why I think those types of systems are so helpful to organizations to better understand and really give context to the people doing the work at the end of the day.
And what questions are you trying to answer by deploying AI? Like, are there any specific use cases or questions that you don't currently have insight into that you're trying to answer?
The insight, it's hard to differentiate there because the insight, I think you can get there by doing the old school Excel reports and you can get to that insight at one point in time with that data. That difference is the AI is a continuous thing. So it's always going to give you that next insight the next hour. So if the data changed within an hour, or if it changed within a month, or changed within a year, it's constantly doing it in the background with a true AI. And it doesn't take that true, like a person rerunning a report and really analyzing it again. That's where at least I expect the AI to be, is to give that automated way of looking at the information to where it doesn't take that manual input from someone else on your team.
So that's great. And how can we apply it to something that you do on a day-to-day basis? Like, can you apply this to a use case or to a scenario that specifically you're looking
for sure
at?
I mean, like, one of our focuses is making sure that not only our internal people are trained on the right things, but our external people are. So, I mean, by using the data, we can understand, okay, what are the fixes that are taking the longest labor hours? And within those labor hours, okay, where is that pain point? Is it at the technician in the field, or is it at our TSRs? Because maybe we look through and see, okay, yes, it's the same technician calling into our technical service reps, but they're getting different information depending on which one they get. So where is that pain point at? And really understanding of that. And so then by focusing in and addressing your bigger, longer, like labor hour times on a specific issue, you can then start diving into that to really understand, okay, what's your 5 why approach of why are we at that today, and really getting at that root cause analysis to understand it. But it's hard to get where you can understand what your true issue is for a lot of companies. I mean, that's always the biggest question at first, is you need to define what your problem statement is. And then once you define your problem statement, you can really go after it's all about focus and making sure you're focused in on solving a problem, because people, unfortunately, we're all distracted by everything around us so easily. And modern technologies just make it harder to focus in on stuff. And that's where, if we can make it easier for our teams and then other teams that are helping us on the field, that's our ultimate goal, is to make it better, because at the end of the day, it's all about that customer experience.
Yes.
And those things all add up to it and make it better for the customer at the end of the day.
And the biggest risk is working on the wrong problem.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is you're looking to deploy AI and leverage data so you can pinpoint the problems, like just problem identification accurately, in an automated way. And based on most recent data input, is the key for you. Is what you're looking to really enable.
Yeah.
Tell me where the problems are, so I can then run my DMAC or Lean Six Sigma or Kaizen or
Right.
design thinking or whatever innovation framework
Yeah.
you use to improve your operation. It's really that definition of the problem statement and the impact it
Right.
may be having and how wide that impact is.
Yep, for sure. I mean, and that's because you can run data all day long, but if you don't have that like goal of what your problem really, it's not going to help you. And that's
Right.
really where the AI, I think, can help pinpoint your larger issues or trending issues that are
Trending.
coming up.
Yes.
I mean, so maybe you
at,
did
at,
fix,
an account level even.
right?
Yes.
Exactly.
Or at
I mean,
technician
so
level.
I mean, every one of us have those different accounts, and they all want to be treated as your number one account.
Yes.
As they should. And we want to make sure that we can be focused on them and show that information by them so we can understand. I mean, not only by the customer standpoints that we make them feel that they're our focus, but also internally. So those internal teams that are focused on that customer, they know we're focusing on their support as well. I mean, because we support a wide range of teams. We want to make sure that they know we're supporting them just as much as the next.
So that's quite fascinating. And what are some of the what's stopping you from being able to deploy AI today and leveraging data modules or language learning modules and to pinpoint problems in the service performance? So what's standing in your way today? Why isn't it in place at Marmon today?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can't change things to 100% of what you want overnight. So it takes that incremental improvements. I mean, I love the more I've learned about Kobe Bryant over the years. I mean, just his mentality towards things of like the only failure in things is if you don't learn.
Yes.
So I mean, as long as you learn along the way and you're trying to improve each day, that I think that's the mentality you have to have, and you're not going to get to 100% of what you want overnight. And yes, it's what a lot of people want to have is that automated and have that AI and have that easiness for your teams right away. But it takes time to build towards that and making sure you're setting up properly. I mean, for a lot of companies out there, it's about data quality and making sure that you have a truth in your data because if you
becoming AI ready,
right? Because if you're feeding AI lies, it's going to give you lies. Out. I mean, yeah.
So what steps have you taken, Ken, to prepare your data and become AI ready and to clean your data?
I'll give one example I mean, because currently we use like 3 different systems in a way to almost track the same information.
Systems of record.
Yeah. So it's finding, okay, and if you ran the resolution time for a ticket out of each one of those systems, you're going to come up with a different time frame. So it's now, okay, as a team, let's decide which one is our truth. And then using that as our truth before we move forward of trying to improve it. Because if today I pull it out of one system and then I say, all right, this is where we are. And then a month I pull it out of the next. And then we see a big change in the KPI there.
Boom.
It's going to be like, yeah. And no one's going to believe it going forward. So if you're going to try and sell this to someone, not externally even at first, it's selling it internally to just get your teams that are performing the work to believe how they're performing. You have to know that it's true. And you have to be honest with yourselves internally to understand that, hey, this is our truth, or nope, we're not quite there. We need to make sure our data is cleaned up before we can really say, all right, this is where we need to get to before we can start truly measuring ourselves.
Beautiful. And where are you on that journey?
I would say on some of the KPIs where we've got that truth.
Okay.
And we're getting regular information on it. But I mean, there's other KPIs we're still working out that, okay, what is that truth? And that's And I think as we go through that, I mean, we have.
And what are the range of the KPIs? I'm curious. So when you say KPIs, can you riff off
Yeah,
the top of your head?
Just as I talked about that, the total ticket time for resolution. Well, within that, you have different teams that are part of that total ticket time from the initial triage. So you can break it down to like, okay, how long did it take them to respond to the customer?
Initial, like first response,
Right.
confirmation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then how long did it take us to diagnose the issue internally? And then how long did it take us to dispatch it to our third-party service provider? How long did it take them to respond to us to say, yes, we had it? I mean, so within
process level KPIs.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And that's where, so you have your ultimate goal as a company of what you want to reach towards. But then within that, you have your different team members that are responsible for each step, each process.
And
along
it all lines up to, or impact, the uptime.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's where getting those other truths that build up to that is where our next focus is.
First, you have to define them.
Right.
Define the KPI that you want to track. So you're at the level of maturity that you have the KPI's definition.
Right.
And then you have to decide
what system is going to be used to decide that truth.
And and maybe we're short on time today, but to dive deep into this, but you're having me raise more questions. Now I have more questions to ask you than when we started this episode. But yeah, I'll be respectful of your time here because I know you need to attend other sessions. But so define the KPI, then decide on the source of truth.
Yeah.
What's the next step?
Is
clean it up, collect it, organize it.
Well, I mean, once you start measuring on it,
because establish a benchmark.
Right. Yeah. So once you start measuring, you then will understand who your outliers are. I mean, previous company, I mean, we started measuring first time fix rate. And then until we started measuring it, we thought, okay, hey, we have all these great companies out there. And then, okay, yeah, they're maybe mediocre. And then some of these companies that we knew were not good were reading 100% first time fix rate. So we knew the data was bad. So it was like, okay, we need to work with them to make sure we're getting the accurate data.
Right.
So until you start measuring, you don't really understand, okay, what is good data, what's bad data. I mean, the cleanup really is after you decide what your benchmark is, because then you can really understand who the outliers are on both extremes. Yes, you hope that people are outperforming what your benchmark is, but the reality is most likely they're going to be right around that benchmark of what you want. And that's how you start processing and really understand of who you need to focus.
Makes sense.
Because really, and then even once you decide that, I mean, at the previous company, okay, maybe there was 5 companies that were showing 100% first time fix rate. So we went and we looked at the data and we said, all right, of these 5 companies, there's 2 of them that do 10 service calls a year for us. Are we really going to care about those service calls and focus on creating a process or creating something to fix that data? No. We're going to focus on the ones that are doing like 500 calls a year for us and really work on what's our biggest impact and making sure that we're addressing the issues that's going to help us out the most overall.
Yeah, so that's the trick, right? Because all the data is not just coming from your system, right? It's coming from your service network system.
Exactly.
So you have to have data governance, not just on first-party data, but on third-party data. And how do you pull it in?
And dealing with international businesses and everything, it's a different mindset you have to have depending on which country or which culture you're dealing with as well. I mean, depending on where you go, I mean, there's some people that want to hide the data because they don't want you to know where their customer is. Even though it's your equipment they're doing the service on, they still want to hide that data from you. So you have to be careful as when you're addressing those companies and making sure you understand their background and to me, that's one of my biggest, I, I would say, accomplishments in my business life is looking at partnerships as a true partnership. And that's when I set up scorecards, or when I talk to different third-party companies, it's not only what they can do for me, but it's what can I do for you. And I want to share our KPIs of their support of what we do to them for them as much as I want it back, because I want to make sure that they know I'm holding myself responsible just as much as I'm holding them responsible.
Yeah, to reach excellence.
Yep.
Yeah, so enabling all stakeholders, whether it's service companies, it's the end user, the asset owner, or anyone in between, achieve excellence, so that we can all really reach, keep cooking good food, right?
Yep.
And keep America's kitchen running. Ken, again, I have more questions, that I'm left with than the ones I started this episode with. And if you are a service manager at a manufacturer, and you're really a service leader, and you're considering leveraging data and applying AI, so you can extract insights that would help you optimize service performance, please reach out to me, as I am putting together a mini group, just like people like Ken, where we're looking to come together, bring those challenges into more of like a mastermind of sorts, and work through those challenges, and maybe bring other experts to help us shed some light on some of these challenges, and how could we resolve them, and take it from the realm of idea and inspiration into the realm of operation and practice, and how do we put it for practice, so put it into practice. So if you're someone who's looking to leverage data and leverage AI, and you're looking for a peer group to pass on ideas and share learnings, what worked and what didn't work, please reach out to me and let me know, as we'll be putting this group together so we can support each other. Look, over here, we believe in collaboration over competition. There's enough demand out there than we can all supply. So this is the spirit of this group, is masterminding, collaborating, sharing what works, sharing what doesn't, so that we can elevate our careers and this industry altogether.
Yep.
So Ken, it's been
Pleasure.
I'm really grateful to have you on this
Thank you very
podcast, and for you coming in to raise this key challenge that the entire industry right now is really trying to address, and giving me the opportunity to really put this message out and attract the Kens of the world to come together, so we can work on these challenges, and take it further than just coming to an event and you're getting too excited about it, but then going back to the operation, and nothing translates to the operation. So we were looking to close that, the gap between knowing and doing, by building a community of service leaders who are really looking to advance, their operation and optimize the performance of their service network. So again, thank you so much again, and looking forward to having deeper conversations about this.
Thank you very much for having me. It was great.
Awesome. All right. So I'll see you on the next broadcast. We'll be probably going live in another 30 minutes or so. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in a little bit.